This summer, I went on a trip to Canada. It was quite a spontaneous trip that was only planned a month before it took place, and was the longest I'd been away from home at the time. I was away for 4 weeks, visiting my brother and several friends. There were a surprising amount of takeaways from this trip, none of which I expected going into it. Learning about new cultures and seeing the beauty of the world gives you a fresh perspective on life. The first day I arrived in Vancouver and was driving through the suburbs, all I could think to myself over and over was, how could anyone be depressed living here? The beautiful greenery, the bright blue sky, and the warm sun made this area feel like paradise. Yet, as is expected, there remain many people in this environment who still suffer from problems. A person who grew up in this area wouldn't see it as anything special, but to me it was amazing. The grass is always greener on the other side, but sometimes it's worth visiting that other side, just to remind yourself how beautiful the world is. It's easy to get caught up thinking that, if only I lived somewhere else, I'd have a much better life. While this may be true in certain instances, learning to love your environment and appreciating the mundane things in your life might bring you just as much joy. Imagine if you could see your hometown through the same lenses as a tourist. The brain loves novelty, but sometimes we forget to look at what we already have and appreciate how fortunate we are. Although these things seemed great to me, they were nothing special to others. It taught me that while traveling to see other places provides great joy, you can also realize that it's not the specific place that makes the difference, it's simply your mindset. Spending time in nature not only fills you with a great joy of being alive and having the privilege to observe the wonderful world around you, but simultaneously reminds you how insignificant a lot of your worries are. Without undermining your life experiences, you're reminded that in the grand scheme of things, we're just tiny people existing on one massive planet. It brings into perspective how we frequently get caught up on small things and encourages us to focus on the bigger picture, simply just enjoying the limited time we have in this life. Traveling to another city or country and experiencing the culture enables you to see how many small differences there are between you and others. You can then choose to take these qualities and use them to develop yourself as a person, or simply leave them behind. It's easy to take on a new mindset and positive attitude when you're in a novel environment. The biggest struggle is trying to maintain that mindset upon returning home. If you can identify a small number of values or changes you would like to make as a result of your travels, this will add up to significant improvements over an extended period of time. Exploring the world develops skills that you don't even recognize. Simply just having an awareness of different gestures, accents, habits, and cultural practices makes you a more well-rounded person. Although you might not have an epiphany during your trip, the new situations, increased exposure to others, and the problem solving required for any issues you experience during the trip all help to develop you as an individual and feed back into an increased desire to travel once again. Once you get the traveling bug, it's hard to remain in one place, but it's all about how you approach the situation. Comparing your life to the lives of others can upset you if you choose to let it, but it can also fill you with a burning desire to face the challenges required to improve your life. Perhaps you end up building a life that allows you to explore the world, whether that be through a career that promotes and enables travel, or just making enough money to fund the travel in your own time. Regardless, it's important to make traveling a priority in your life. Something I've learned recently is that experiences have much greater value than physical commodities. An experience is an investment in your personal skill set, but also goes towards your life satisfaction. Physical items can complement your experiences, but they rarely benefit you more. I was previously hesitant to spend money on trips instead of buying a new phone or camera, because after the trip was finished, I wouldn't be left with any tangible items, whereas a phone could last me many years. This thinking isn't accurate, because although I don't have any actual evidence that I went on a trip abroad, I have all the memories and all the skills I gained from that trip. You could think about it like taking cooking or driving lessons. At the end of the lesson, despite having nothing physical to show for the money you spent, you've acquired a new skill, meaning that you invested in yourself instead of investing in an item. Traveling is simply an all-encompassing lesson, one in which you acquire confidence, cultural understanding, problem solving, life satisfaction, gratitude, and thousands of other skills. Vancouver has a fantastic amount of nature to complement the vibrant city life. I frequently felt as though I was existing in two places at once. I would be downtown, by the sea, watching seaplanes fly past the beautiful glass skyscrapers that would glisten in the sun, only to find myself 30 minutes later walking through a vast botanical garden. The juxtaposition of the man-made structures and gorgeous displays of nature provides a uniquely refreshing experience that I've yet to find anywhere else in the world. This is only further supported by the diverse culture that exists within the wonderful city. To call Vancouver a stunning city would be a vast understatement. It's a videographer's dream, with so many different things happening in such a small area, meaning there's always something new to be looking at. Living in such an energizing place, it's no surprise the locals seem so friendly and polite. One of my favorite observations was the fact that every passenger would thank the bus driver when arriving at their destination. It's such a simple yet meaningful gesture that many people forget about. A significant benefit of traveling is that you develop the skills of adapting to unfamiliar situations. Being on the move a lot of the time forces you to learn about how you respond to these new situations. You take on a mentality where you're willing to push through things or find a compromise. These skills are important to develop because they're useful for all sorts of issues in your life. Sometimes we end up in situations that aren't ideal, and instead of moving forward, we get stuck. We despise discomfort, and so we do anything we can to minimize it, even if the best solution is to face it head on. Admittedly, being away from home for 4 weeks in an unfamiliar environment, surrounded by people I haven't seen in a while, whilst also being an introvert, made me feel uneasy. But that's exactly why I was so eager to go through with this trip. I learned my limits socially, and it forced me out of my standard fixed mindset so I could gain a deeper understanding of how I respond to certain situations. When you're in a new environment, it allows you to clear your mind and be more present. This can help you learn to stop overcomplicating everything. It's easy to get stuck in a routine and feel distressed if you don't have it. Not having your normal bed, not being 100% comfortable with your living environment, etc. Constantly being on the move challenges these issues and makes you ease up a little bit. It took me a while to adjust, but after adjusting, I realized I could now basically sleep anywhere, and that mild discomforts that would irk me previously would no longer even catch my attention. I learned to do things that needed to be done without trying to avoid them. I was staying with my brother, and as he was letting me stay with him for free, it only felt fair for me to do his dishes and cook for him. Although there were times where I didn't feel like doing it and wanted to leave the dishes for another day, I reminded myself that it's simply my duty to do it and that I just have to get up and actually do it. To become the kind of person I wish to be, this is a duty that I have to fulfill. Sometimes reminding yourself why you do things makes them easier to justify instead of putting them off. Now that I'm back home, I definitely have a more carefree perspective on life. I still work towards all my goals in the same manner, but I get less bothered by the small things since I realize that the bigger picture is the main focus, and there are numerous ways to get there. So to conclude, it's important to understand the benefits behind traveling. Something which sounds difficult or uncomfortable in the moment might end up creating the greatest moments of your life. Although it's intimidating at first, if you're able to travel the world by yourself, there aren't many things that you can't do. The skills you build, the people you meet, the memories you make, and the sights you see all shape you as a person. We are social animals, and we're built to connect with one another. It'd be a shame to deny yourself the opportunity to explore the beauty of the world. If you don't have the money, you can start small. Just visit another town or city nearby and see how it differs from your own. Maybe talk to some people in a coffee shop and hear about their stories. You can learn a lot about the world through other people's stories. But be aware that once the traveling bug starts, it's difficult to let it go. So instead of letting it go, embrace it and let your eagerness and curiosity guide you to where you belong. It's like being a child all over again. And unfortunately, many of us lose our childlike curiosity, but you can keep it going. Good luck with your journey.